Zach, thank you so much for coming on the AIM podcast.
Happy to be here.
Let's go, man. I'm super excited about this one, man. Are those some Flux shoes behind you? You got some demos on the wall?
More than you could imagine. They're all actually like right over here. But I try to keep the backspace a little bit clear. It's working from home situation, but yeah, I've got a lot of shoes and I'm trying to do damage control to keep it all in one spot.
Yeah, I'm sure that's actually an interesting question. I kind of want to lead off with this. I'm sure obviously as a founder of the company, you're looking at, a bunch of maybe different sizes. You guys are working on different products, just released a new shoe. How many personal Flux shoes do you own that are in your actual rotation? Do you have a count on that?
Looking over at where my shoe rack is by the door. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Because
Sounds
I'm always testing, right? So like I get
sure.
samples in and it's like, all right, I'll take these to the gym today and see how they perform. And then like I've got them for casual. I know we kind of started the company with this like it's the one shoe for everything, and
Yep.
I feel a little bit like a hypocrite. But when the availability is there, it's like, well, wear my white shoes today, and tomorrow when I'm out and I don't want to get my feet stepped on, I'll wear black. So,
Yes.
anyways,
Love it, man. That's awesome. Super cool, man. Well, I'm excited about this episode, just to really dive into the company and the brand that you're building in Flux. But I think before we even touch on that, which is going to be fun to discuss, like I would love to hear more about your personal background and how you got into the business space in general. I know I've done a little bit of research. You've had a stint with Reebok, I believe, and some other stuff. But would love to, yeah, for you to just kind of set the stage
sure.
by providing some background.
Yeah, I lucky with an internship at Puma in college. That was sort of like my foot in the door, and I think it's the moment I walked in, I was like, for my interview, which I think blew my first interview, but I was just like, oh my God, this is home. Like it just like surrounded with creativity and product, and like it felt like home for me. And so. I, yeah, and then I ended up at Reebok after school and stayed there for 3 years. They, at least at the time, I don't know if they still do, but they had a really excellent apprentice program. Um, and I don't think I ever saw myself like that. My goal wasn't to work at Reebok, but I ended up there, and it was a fantastic culture, and got to learn from some really amazing mentors. Um, and yeah, so like kind of learned the trade there. There was the opportunity to learn from a lot of these old British guys who had been there for like 30, 40 years, and just like knew like they were making the shoes by hand still, like down in the cutting rooms. And so just kind of like wet my nose a bit. I don't know if that's the term, but like got in on that, and it really yeah, stoked my passion even further. I got out of footwear actually. I started feeling like I was too comfortable at a certain point.
Sure.
Went and moved to France, tried to do some like a whole nother story there, but started a coffee shop, and that was like a totally failed business. But it was like it got me going like, oh, I do enjoy the starting process. I enjoy these parts about entrepreneurship. I ended up in a tech accelerator in Kentucky for a couple of years, and that was another like just really great experience of understanding startup culture, and also just things about myself that I really thrived in. Um, After a few years later, I ended up at Wolf and Shepherd in LA. Learned a lot there. It was a startup that had been around for a few years, um, and then came and did this. And Flux feels like this really nice culmination of all of these past experiences that I get to sort of put into one.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's so cool. It's cool to hear, your perspective and how you've done so many different things. And I'm sure, like you're saying, like all the different things, all the different times and experiences you've had have kind of come together to create, your skill set and what you've been able to accomplish with Flux.
Yeah, I'm extremely extremely lucky and grateful for all of it.
Absolutely. What was it, I guess what I'm super interested to find out is like more about actually starting the brand Flux. Like what was it about footwear? I know you had a past in working with a couple different incredible brands, but what kind of brought you back to footwear?
I just really love it. I like making stuff. It's a bit of a drug actually. Like making like designing something out and then getting back that physical sample. Like I have a bit of an addiction to it. It's this like very physical representation of progress, I think. And so being able to constantly do that, and then like my brain just goes into problem solving mode. And it's like it's a really fast way for me to get into like flow state, is to immerse myself into solving problems with footwear. So that I think that's it. Like I lose track of time there. It's like when I was a kid and I was just drawing all day. And I think that the idea of like doing something that you really love and being able to make a living from that is like that's success for me, to be
Yeah.
able to spend my time on something that I love and have it pay the bills, at least at this stage in my life. Maybe somewhere down the road I'll just be able to do what is really fun regardless of the capital like downstream effects of it. But right now that's the reality, and I'm count myself immensely lucky to be able to do that.
I love that. I think there's a lot of value to unpack there. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people desire. And I think, certain people maybe have fear or different things that are restricting them from truly immersing themselves in that world of just truly, going after your passions. And actually, I ran about an hour before this podcast today, and I was thinking about that exact topic. And I even made a video I'm going to post in the coming weeks, just about like there
Mm.
is so much power in chasing your passions. And I think a lot of times what happens is when we don't do that, we have regret. But at the end of the day, I think when we really boil it down and break it down, like what's the worst that could happen? Like, okay, Flux fails. Okay, so what? But at least you never have regret, and that's not going to happen. I'm excited about Flux, but you know what I mean? Like that
I
is
mean,
the
if it does,
yeah,
yeah, like if it does fail, I'll have so much experience from it. Like there, I was listening to an interview this morning with a guy who he spent 5 years like building this gym franchise, and then it fell apart. And he's like, "Oh my god! I mean, I lost 5 years of my life." And he's like, I had to reframe that and realize like I had built up 5 years of experience and knowledge and personal character through that all of a sudden exploded into wealth for me very quickly thereafter. And so I mean, I've had to come to terms with that with Flux. Like, this is awesome. We're on like a wild ride. But there have been moments where like, yeah, we could lose this whole thing. And can I be okay then if we do? And I think the answer for me has been yes. It would be hard, but I I don't doubt that I could continue to build something great after this. So
it's good. I love it. I love it so much. I want to know more about how did you come up with the actual name Flux? What does that mean? And yeah, I would love to hear kind of the story there.
yeah, so I can't take credit for that. That's Ben and Isaac, the original founders of the company. Isaac is still with us. Ben moved on to another project. But um, the my understanding is it comes from this book called The Inevitable, and they're kind of talking about how like everything in the world is currently in flux, and we have to essentially adapt to the world as it's quickly changing. And this is the first time in human history where we have had to quickly keep up with the technology that we're creating. And so that's part of what the company is about. Like what our vision of fitness is about is allowing you, like you're sitting at a computer all day, so I don't know, like having better footwear to wear on your feet while you're at a standing desk. Like that's an important thing to have. Things that move with your body instead of constricting them. These are just sort of foundational principles on how we approach the products that we create. So Flux is about just acknowledging the world and the state that it's in, not trying to like yearn for some vision of the past that isn't here anymore, but how do we adapt as humans to the future? And so, so the little logo, that X, that came from, I don't know if it was Ben or Isaac, but they drew it on a napkin, such, and it was that the man is familiar with, it's Leonardo da Vinci's, Vitruvian Man, where he's got his arms out. So it's those proportions in a symbol. There we
Yeah,
go.
that's so cool.
Uh, yeah, it's sort of that distilled vision of human potential and possibility.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. I love it. I'm super cool. I'm super glad to hear that. My one of my good friend Lucas, he's been my training partner for High Rocks. We're about to do a 50 miler together, but we were both wearing Flux the other night,
Cool.
and he was like making jokes. He was like, "Dude, this looks like a little person." And I think he even posted a story and put like an emoji where the head would be. And it's cool to hear the actual
That's
story of
it.
what it
That's it.
represents. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was right. It was a little person.
That is so awesome. I want to hear more about, the actual product now. Like this is cool to kind of set the stage. Obviously your background is incredible and hearing kind of the vision for the brand and what it represents. But talk to us a little bit more about what the actual shoe represents in terms of, what are the benefits, what went into the design. Like I want to know a lot more about the actual shoe itself.
Sure. So obviously, I don't know how familiar your listeners are going to be with barefoot shoes, but the classic one is like the Vibram Five Finger. It is not an attractive shoe, but it works great. So people love that shoe and will never wear anything else. Um, and that's been around for what, like 15 years. I think it's gained as much market traction as it's going to gain. And then we've had other competitors sort of rise up through the years that are producing good shoes, but none of them were to our tastes, like something that I would wear on a date or anywhere outside of like a gym setting. And so we looked at that and saw the rise of obviously like athleisure and Lululemon, and our question to ourselves was like, how do we make a barefoot shoe that is the yoga pants for your feet, the thing that you could wear all day any day, doing just about anything, from the gym to grabbing groceries to going on a date to the office. And so that's sort of the framework that informed the design decisions that we made around the original product, which was like we added a little bit more cushion than most barefoot shoes have, because if you're new to barefoot, especially, like people get hurt transitioning. So we wanted to take that off the table. Let's make this, and so everything is about creating a really low bar to entry, to making an easy bit of progress in your life. So there's this sort of like psychological thing that we all have, which is anything too new is going to repel us. We have like psychological bandwidth essentially to make like one step, like 1% better every day. And so that's really what we're trying to offer people is a 1% improvement on their health and wellness. And we really just believe that every product that we offer has got to be offering that to people, especially to like mass market. If you're coming from wearing Vans or Chuck Taylors or Nikes or whatever, like we want to have something that you can transition and make your life a bit better, without sacrificing looks, comfort, the things that people get attached to about footwear.
Totally. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, I've been wearing my Flux shoes for probably about a month now, and I come from a basketball background. I played Division I college basketball, and I never wore zero drop shoes. I never wore barefoot shoes. Like growing up, I was always wearing like very supportive, thick, like high tops, and then when I got into college, I kind of wore more low tops. But regardless, very, very strong, stable shoes. And so when I made this transition to start wearing, y'all's shoes, I loved it. And it was very cool for me to see how
Mm,
my foot responded. And the cool thing about y'all's
yeah,
shoe, and again, I'm no expert in this, I guess, category of shoe, but what I can say about y'all's shoe is there's a really cool element of being able to feel the ground and the things that you're stepping on while also being incredibly comfort. Like with while also the shoe being incredibly comfortable, which to me that was kind of crazy to kind of feel that cushion and that comfort, but also feel the ground. So what you guys have designed in that
sure.
way has been really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique feel. I think that's the selling point for a lot of people, and why people come back for more of our product is because the first feel is just so different, but also, and some people hate it, and I welcome that. Like, I'm glad that some people don't like it. I'd say it's a small percentage of people, but like the, sort of like massaging underneath your feet. Um, it's totally different than any other shoe on the market, and I think that really does set us apart. And the functional reason for that is that, one, it allows the shoe to flex more because it's not a rigid piece of foam under your foot. It's these individual, like, they're only connected by the mesh on the top and bottom of them. They're not interconnected. It's not a molded piece of foam. It's die cut out. So it's these individual pieces of foam moving around. And what it also does is it increases proprioception, which is, your feet have all of these nerve endings on the bottom, and so they're looking for information. And when you put big pillows underneath them, you reduce the amount of information and feedback they're getting. So we found that we could actually increase the amount of foam and cushion underneath your foot without sacrificing that proprioceptive feedback from the ground, because it's coming through those pillows of cushion now. Yeah, it's really fun to see people put it on for the first time and get their reactions.
100%. That's awesome. What would you say is the primary use or function of the shoe? If you went to someone and said, if someone came up to you and said, Zach, I want to get a pair of Flux shoes, like what is the best thing I should do, use these for?
So here's the thing with the shoe. It's not a specialist shoe. And designed intentionally that way. So like I said, it's the yoga pant for your feet. What are yoga pants good for? Like, what are they best for? Yeah, they're great for the gym, but they're also what you wear. I mean, and this is different for, obviously, for guys. It's a bit different, right? Like, we don't wear yoga pants out to get a coffee, but like if you're a girl, yeah, like you can wear yoga pants with skirts, and you can wear yoga pants like in the office. Like, it's this ubiquitous piece of thing that you can do anything with. So I would say it's for anybody who wants to improve their foot health. Um,
Sure.
just take a step in that direction. And if you want a shoe that can do almost everything, right? Like, I talk to CrossFitters all the time about it, and the one piece of feedback is always like, yeah, I don't know that I would rope climb in it. Like, yeah, sure, it's not a rope climbing shoe. You can. I've done it, but it's no, it's probably not the most supportive for that. Are you gonna, like, I don't know, push jerk 300 pounds? Like, probably not. But like, for the average person doing a moderate to hard workout, yeah, like, it'll take you through it all. So I think that's sort of the value proposition is, like, we really believe in the 80/20 rule with just about everything we do in our business. And that's like, let's make the 80% shoe. Like, this thing will do 80% of all the things that you need to do throughout your day. Um, this is an excellent choice for that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Now, you guys just released a new product, a new type of shoe. And that one is catered a little bit more to running specifically. Obviously, you can
Yeah,
wear it, travel, do whatever, but that is y'all came to market with another type of product that has just a little bit more cushion and slightly better in those areas.
totally. So yeah, that came from, I mean, one of the first, we sent out like a survey monkey or something about 2 months after we launched, and said, hey, if you loved our adapt, what would you want to see next from us? Our number one response was running shoes. So the thought was really like, okay, like now we've got that feedback. We know that a running product's on the table. And then we just did a lot of research into like, what do people like about our current product, the Adapt? And then how do we bring that into a unique new product that's catered towards running? And so again, it's like, it's the athleisure running shoe, right? Like you're probably not going to run a marathon in this, but like half marathon, sure. Like I run, I think I've run 8 miles in it. Like it's great for that. I also just really like wearing it with like a pair of slacks or joggers, right? So and they're super comfy. I would say where they differ from the Adapt is, especially if you're new to barefoot shoes and your foot isn't like really used to being, you know, in a very minimal shoe.
Sure.
Like if I'm going to go to a concert and be standing for I don't know 3-4 hours, I will absolutely wear the running shoe, because it's my feet aren't going to get tired in that. So that's sort of it. Like some people are on their feet for 12 hours a day. Some people love the Adapt for that. I think for me, I might need to switch out and wear something with a little bit more support. So it's again, it's sort of that. It's a really great transition if you're wearing normal running shoes right now that have the narrow toe box and they're squishing your toes in. If you've got plantar fasciitis, there have been some studies around why we get plantar fasciitis, and it's because that big toe gets squished in. So if you've got a running shoe that actually has space for that, the idea is that it's allowing blood flow through your ligaments and muscles underneath the foot, and that's going to actually allow those muscles to recover. Like the saying is that plantar fasciitis isn't a like it's an issue primarily with recovery, not primarily just with inflammation. It's because the inflammation never gets blood flow to it and recovers. So that's kind of the idea there. Again, and it's zero drop. So most running shoes have like an extra, I don't know, anywhere from like 4 to 10 millimeters stack in the heel, and it's really nice when you're running, you don't get fatigued, but it ends up becoming a crutch because your muscles end up over time actually shortening, and so it can create some problems with your running form and just like generally with your if your muscles have retracted, you're not getting full range of motion in your stride. So we're trying to give that back to people.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's super cool to hear that. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they do. I was with Eric Hinman this past weekend in Chicago for the High Rocks event, and we were chatting about the shoe, and he was telling me how much he enjoyed it. So it was cool to get that good feedback from him as well.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah, speaking of him, like, that's another interesting element of the business I would love to hear your thoughts on. Just the strategic partnerships and of working with guys like Eric. I actually saw Jesse Itzler post you guys. I think it was yesterday, which is cool because he never posts
Yeah,
brands, that he doesn't own. So I thought it was
that
really
was wild.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, talk to
yeah,
me a little bit about that, like, y'all's strategy with working with certain individuals and how that kind of works for you guys.
yeah. Actually, yeah, Eric's the first guy that we ever really worked with. I met him at a community event that he put on here in Denver, and just clicked and kept the conversation going, and eventually we're able to, we had the funding to be able to invest further in that. And actually Isaac, my co-founder, is really building out that program right now. And yeah, it's been massively beneficial to have brand ambassadors who are passionate about the product. And for a while there, like when we started, we were just seeding product to people and they were posting about it, and that was awesome. And we still do that. But it is also really nice to be able to pay people for the value that they're adding to us. And it's also a lot more, I mean, I think motivating for them to at some point, to be more vocal about it. But yeah, we've got like, I mean, okay, like Jesse Itzler posting about it out of just like, I like these shoes. Like that's massive. I mean, that the value that adds for a small company like us is incredible. but it's not just, it's like it's the smaller creators too, right? So and everything in between, just having people that are excited about the product, and building those relationships has been massively beneficial. It's something that it's difficult, and it is an investment because you don't know what the payoff's going to be. Um, like performance marketing, going straight to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google, like you can see the metrics, you know exactly what's happening. Um, but that doesn't mean that's the only place there's value.
Yeah.
It just means that there's quantifiable value there. And so we're learning how to sort of like take the right, I guess, risks in that, and see how that plays out. And so far, it's been extremely valuable.
That's so cool. I love how you touch on that because, as I just kind of look at the landscape of brands right now, and I love business, honestly, and I just love kind of exploring and just kind of like just observing, I guess, what other people are doing and, who's winning, where are people succeeding, what does that look like? I think brands that have some level of community are doing exceptionally well, bringing people together to give them a
Yeah,
purpose and a reason to be involved in the brand, and also
yeah,
be connected to one another that are in that same interest of the brand. But also, like you said, the brands that go out of their way to invest in people beyond just like a quick, okay, I'm going to pay you to post this, I need to see X return, more so with the heart posture of like, let's create
right,
partnerships where we can really go help people understand why our product's so powerful and how it's going to truly help them. And I think, you just hit on it very well, but I totally see how that's been super positive for a lot of brands in the space.
totally. And it's more fun. Like it's way more fun to have like to be doing this in relationship, like you said, as opposed to just like some purely transactional experience. So I think you hit it there too. I wish I I say I wish it's something that we're working on growing that budget so that we really can, expand and not just like just here's money, but like here's some experiences we want to bring people along. Like we look at some other brands out there. I think that you're aligned with like 10,000. Like they do an excellent job with with their program. I think just sort of watching from the outside, but hearing some of their ambassadors talk about it, I think that's what we aspire to.
Yeah.
Um, so baby
That's awesome.
steps.
Let's go one day at a time, 1%, right?
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
Man, this is exciting. So, you guys just released this new product. I know there's a lot of hype and momentum around that. Are there any other big projects or things you would like to kind of promote or talk about for this year that you guys are excited about?
There's a couple things that are under wraps right now that I am really excited about. We just launched the running shoe on Tuesday, and as we were launching it, I was sketching out ideas for new projects. So, um, the I like I said before, like this, solving problems and creating for footwear is just like I just freaking love it. So yes, we have some cool things that I think are going to be massive value adds to people. And a lot of it's just going to be about how we tell the story, and it's going to require some education, because some of the stuff that we're going to be doing is very new for the space. But I think will really resonate with people.
That is so cool, man. I really appreciate your time, man. This has been a fun episode, learning more about you and everything you guys are doing at Flux. As we wrap this up, man, I would love just if you could provide any value and just insight on maybe one thing you would tell, a young entrepreneur. We've had on some really cool founders on the show, and I would love to just hear your perspective about something that you wish you would have known when you were getting into the game that you've learned throughout your experience.
Yeah, I think just fall in love with the process. Don't get hung up on like the end result, um, and know that like nothing that you're investing in it is wasted. I think I spent a lot of my 20s thinking that I was wasting time, and in hindsight, I'm like, no, that was especially the times that I was like struggling through to understand, to figure out how things worked. Um, I think it can be really discouraging and lonely along the journey. Sometimes I think I probably sampled, I don't know, maybe 5 different products on my own before starting with Flux. and not to mention like everything else that I was doing in that around that time too. So yeah, I would just say fall in love with the process and don't get discouraged, because the journey will take a while. Um, and that's part of it.
So good, man. So good, man. I really appreciate you. And yeah, really pumped to see all you guys accomplish this year. There's a lot of really exciting momentum. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the shoes, and I can't wait for more people to get them on their feet, man.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.